All right, today we're going to be learning, looking at Microsoft Excel 2013, Lesson 3, using Office Backstage, which is Backstage View. The skills that we're going to talk about today include accessing and using Backstage View, printing with Backstage, changing the Excel environment, and accessing and using Excel templates. Our key terms for today include default settings, group, navigation pane, print options, tab, and template. So we're going to open up a Excel on our computer and we're going to use a blank worksheet for right now. Backstage view is how we access Backstage view is by the file tab. So when we click the file tab, and that's what I want everybody to do, it takes us to what's called the Backstage view. And the Backstage view is going to hold all those extra different commands and settings that we use for a workbook. Backstage view houses a couple things. It houses info about our worksheet. It allows us to open up or create a new worksheet. So we have new. We can search for templates. We have open, which allows us to go in and open the different things. We have save and save as. Remembering the difference between the two. Save is if we're saving our work as we're working on it. Save as meaning that we're saving it for the first time or renaming the file name. Our printing options, sharing options to share with other people, exporting this data out, like creating a different file type or creating a PDF. Close will close the spreadsheet we're currently working on, but will not exit Excel. Account, we'll talk about your 365 account. And options, we'll talk about the Excel options that you can change for the window. So, in Backstage View, okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is printing with Backstage View. Backstage View commands, Excel's print commands, and options. You can use print settings to manipulate worksheets, elements such like margins, orientation, paper size, and so on. When you go to File Print, so let's all go there now, File Print, you'll see that you have a preview, and if there's nothing typed in your spreadsheet, like right now, okay, there'll be nothing there to preview or print. Things that you can change in the settings include like portrait versus landscape, how big your paper is, your margins. Scaling is a big one. Scaling talks about the zooming controls and how to fit things properly on a page. A lot of times you're going to hear me say fit all of the columns and rows to one page or fit on one sheet. That is this setting. It shrinks everything so that it comes out on just one piece of paper. So that's a big one we'll use in here. You can fit all columns onto one page or you can fit all rows onto one page. So it'll shrink things automatically for you so that it'll fit the way you want it to do without you having to go into your spreadsheet and adjust things manually. So that's one of the nice things about printing. Let's go back to our spreadsheet. So I'm going to hit the back button and that'll take us back to our spreadsheet. Another way you can quick access to print is by using your quick access toolbar. If you have it, you can hit that drop down list where you make your quick access toolbar customized for yourself. You can hit the quick print or the print preview button. Either or will take you automatically there very quickly. So that's another way to print. One of the other things that we're going to talk about is setting the print area. So I want you to go File, Close, and we're going to go back to our Backstage view and open something. So we're going to go File, Open. We're going to go to the computer, okay, because we're going to go into our student assignment. So we're going to hit Browse. We're going to go to the desktop. And we're going to navigate to Student Assignments. We're going to open that. We're going to open the Dale folder. We're going to go into Excel 2013 Student Data Files. We are in Lesson 3. And we are going to open up the 03 Consto Potluck. We're going to open that up. Okay, and it says it's locked for editing, so we want to read only. Now we want to be able to edit this. So at the yellow bar where it says protected view, you're going to hit enable editing. And we're going to save a copy. We're going to go ahead and save this as a copy. So let's go to our Backstage view, which is File, Save As. We're going to go in our OneDrive, Houston County Board of Education. We're going to browse to the Miss Dale folder. So we're going to browse to the Miss Dale folder. In there, we're going to name this 03 Corso Potluck Practice Activity. Practice Activity. So we're going to add practice activity to the name, so it should be 03 Contoso Potluck Practice Activity. And then we'll hit save. To learn how to set a print area, we're going to use this 03 Contoso Potluck Practice Activity as our practice. To set a print area, you simply are just going to highlight what you want to be printed, okay? And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to highlight from A1 all the way down to A13 and all the way over to C13. So I'm going to highlight that nice little box. So from A1 to C13 is highlighted. I'm going to go to the Page Layout tab. And in the Page Setup group, you'll see where it says Print Area. There'll be a button. I'm going to hit that drop-down button. And you've got two options, set the print area and clear the print area. We're going to set it. Once you do that and you click off your highlight, you should see a border, like a faint gray border, come around the area in which you set. Okay. Now, if we go back to Backstage View and go to Print, you'll now see the area in which we have set to print. Okay. Since we're in Backstage View already, and we're done working on this worksheet, we're going to go to the Close option, and I'm going to simply hit Close. It's going to ask me if I wanted to save, and you think, well, we really didn't do anything to this. Yes, we did. We set a print area, so we are going to save it because we want it to recognize that print area. And we're going to open up in our Student Activities folder 03 Contoso Potluck Department. So I'm going to Backstage View. I'm going to go to Open. And I'm going to go to Computer, and I'm going to navigate to the desktop. Student Assignments, again, Dale. And then we're going to go to Excel 2013 Student Data Files, Lesson 3 Student Data Files, and we want the 03 Contoso Potluck Department. All right, we're going to select that, and we're going to hit Open. We're going to our yellow bar. If your yellow bar appears again, you want to make sure you hit Enable Editing. So that allows you to edit this spreadsheet as it is your own. We want to save it. So let's go File, Save As. We're going to go to navigate to our OneDrive, Houston County Board of Education. We're going to browse to our Miss Dale folder. Okay. And we're just going to add to the end of the file name, Practice Activity. Practice Activity. Okay, so in this workbook, you'll notice it has, if you look at the bottom on the status bar, it has 3 worksheets. It has an HR worksheet, it has an operations worksheet, and it has a finance worksheet. And I'm clicking through them, so you need to, if you'll click through them. So it has 3 different worksheets down here, HR, operations, and finance. So one of the things that we're going to talk about is printing selected worksheets. And you can print individual worksheets by themselves. So we're going to go to Backstage View. We're going to go to Print. Now, in your settings option, you'll see where it says print active sheet. What that means is the sheet that you are currently working on is the only sheet that is going to print. You then have, if you click the drop down arrow, it says print entire workbook. What that means is all 3 sheets in our workbook would print in essence. The last one is that you have print selection. Okay. Print selection is only going to print those cells that you might have highlighted in the worksheet that you are currently working on. You also have ignore print area. So in the previous exercise where we set the print area, if we wanted it to print the entire sheet and ignore what we have set, we could hit that as well. There are options there for you. Okay, so we are done with this workbook, so we're going to go to stay in Backstage view. We're just going to hit close. Yes, we're going to save because we did make changes. And now let's open up another activity. Let's go to our Backstage view. Let's navigate to the student desktop. So we're going to go computer, file, open, computer. We're going to browse to the desktop, student assignment folder, Excel 2013 student data files, lesson 3 student files, and we're going to open up O3 Contorso Potluck HR. Okay, O3 Contorso Potluck HR, I'm going to open that. If your yellow bar comes up for protected view, make sure you hit enable editing. We are going to save this activity, so let's go file, save as. OneDrive, Houston County Board of Education. You're going to browse to your Miss Dale folder. And on the end of the file name, we'll add again practice, activity, and save. So we now have our own copy. With this workbook, we're going to talk about how to apply printing options. So we are going to go to Backstage View. So I'm going to go to the File, Backstage View, and Print. One of the things we're going to talk about is margins. So if you look down in settings, you can see margins. You have a couple margin settings already preset for you, normal, wide, and narrow. You also can click on the custom margins. And if you'll click on that, you'll notice that the dialog box opens up, which is the page setup dialog box. It's already going to automatically take you to the margins tab. And you can come in and adjust your margins as you need and your header. Okay. So I'm just going to leave everything the way it is. Typically, when I print spreadsheets, I like to set my margins to narrow, the custom setting of narrow. That way I can try to cram as much on one page as possible to save paper. Okay, so that's how you adjust your margins. The other thing that we can talk about is our orientation between landscape and portrait. Remembering that portrait is going to be vertical, landscape is going to be horizontal. You would use landscape orientation when your columns are longer than your rows. Okay, you would use portrait when your rows are longer than your columns. So you have to learn how to adjust the various paper settings based on the data in your worksheet. The other thing that we want to talk about is if you'll notice at the end of these settings, all the way in blue writing, which should indicate to you it opens up something, it says page setup. If you click on that, and everybody should, it's going to take you to the page setup dialog box, which will allow you to adjust some other things. The page tab will allow you to adjust orientation, your scaling, paper size. Margins will allow you to adjust your margins and your header margin. It also will allow you to center things on a page. Notice that very quickly. You can center it vertically on the page and horizontally. When you set it vertically and horizontally centered, that means your data will be pulled to the middle of the page. So that's something to remember. You'll see that on the test. You have where you can insert a header or footer. So if you forget to insert your header or footer on your page, you can do that. You would just simply hit custom header, and everybody should do that. In the left section, you would type your name. In the middle section, you would type the date, and today's date is the 29th. And then in the right section, you would type the period, which is this is third period. Simply insert your header. Once you've done that, you'll hit OK. You'll notice a preview is going to come up in the preview section. We don't usually typically use footer, but you can add your footer if you'd like to. If you go to the Sheet tab, all right, in the Sheet tab, you'll notice that you can set your print area. Okay, you have an option to set it. The other thing that I want you to notice is that you can set print titles, meaning that if you have headers or you use row headers or column headers, you can set those to automatically print on every page of your worksheet for you. One of the big things that you'll want to set for me is grid lines. That means the lines in between the rows and the columns will print on the page. And you'll want to set that every time you print a spreadsheet for me. So you'll have to do that manually. It's not by default. And we do that right here, sheet, print, and then check the box grid lines. You have a couple other things that you can do here. Black and white, meaning if you're using color, it'll print it in black and white for you. Draft quality, meaning you don't need it in high quality. It's just a draft. You want to print your row and column headings, you check that box. If you've got comments, which is later on in Excel, we can have them print comments or cell arrows. We want them to display those cells. The other thing that you want to take notice in the Sheet tab is the page order. Typically, in Excel, it's going to, by default, it's going to start down and then over. So everything in the first columns all the way down and then over. And you'll see the preview what it means by down and then over and down. You can change that to over and then down, meaning that it'll go from left to right and then down and then left to right, which is typically the way we read, but it is backwards because this is typically data. We're dealing with numbers. And so most of the time we won't change the page order. All right, we'll hit OK. You'll notice that because we made changes and we have grid lines now selected, on your preview, you will see the grid lines. We are not going to print this, so I'm just going to hit the back button to take me back to my spreadsheet. Okay, the next couple things we're going to talk about is changing the Excel environment. And that means we're switching our default settings, which are preset options that determine how Excel will behave when performing actions. One of the first things that we can learn how to change is the quick access toolbar, which is up here at the top. You can customize that by clicking the drop down menu and adding things or taking away things. On my quick access toolbar, I have a print option, a quick print option, and an email option. I typically use that pretty regularly. We can customize the ribbon here to display certain things. To customize the ribbon, we would go to the Backstage view, which is our File tab. We would then go to Options. In Options, we would select Customize Ribbon. And then in this dialog box, you'll see a couple things. The first things you'll see is the default command groups, which are popular commands. On this other side where it says main tabs, you'll see where the current tabs are selected and able to turn off or turn on. That's what the check mark boxes indicate. You have a check box if it's on, a check box if it's off, meaning it's visible. We have, if it's unchecked, it's inactive. Okay, and you can add or remove things, and to reset back to default is right here. All right, so we're not going to make any changes, but I did want you to know where that was. So we're just going to hit cancel, and that will cancel out anything that we've done. The other thing that we're going to talk about today is templates, and I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. We're going to go File, Close, and that will close this spreadsheet. We're going to save, yes, and without exiting Excel, once we've closed that spreadsheet, we're going to go File, New, and you'll notice that if you scroll through, you have a couple of preset templates here. You also can search for templates online. So you would just place your insertion point in there and you would type for what you were looking for and then hit the search button. It would use Microsoft Office Online to find a template. Templates are based off certain categories, and there are a couple categories already here listed for you. In this lesson, you should have learned how to access and use Backstage View, to print with Backstage View, to change the Excel environment, and to access and use Excel templates. You may now begin Excel 2013 Lesson 3 Using Office Backstage Project Activities.